Hey there, and welcome to a deep dive that's all about shaking things up. Creating a splash, we're talking blue ocean strategy. I bet you've noticed those companies that just seem to defy the odds.
hmm
They don't just enter a crowded market, they create a whole new space where the competition just fades away.
Right.
That's the allure of a blue ocean. And today we're using the expanded edition of the best-selling book Blue Ocean Strategy by W. Chan Kim and Renee Mauborgne as our guide.
It's fascinating how this book, which sold 3.5 million copies in its original form, really flips the script on traditional business thinking.
Okay.
Instead of battling it out in a bloody red ocean, imagine discovering a serene, wide-open blue ocean teeming with untapped potential.
All right.
That's the shift in mindset Blue Ocean Strategy encourages.
That metaphor definitely paints a vivid picture, but let's
Yeah.
get specific.
Right.
How do we actually find these blue oceans? It
Uh,
can't be as simple as just, wishing them into existence, right?
It's not about luck, it's about a strategic framework. And at the heart of it is this concept of value innovation. It's not just about offering something slightly better or cheaper than the competition.
Right.
It's about creating a leap in value for both the customer and your company.
So it's not about being the low-cost leader, but about delivering high value in a way that also benefits your bottom line. It sounds almost too good to be true.
That's the magic of it. And one of the key tools for achieving this is the 4 actions framework. Think of it as a roadmap for analyzing your industry and pinpointing opportunities to break free from that red ocean.
Okay, I'm all about actionable roadmaps. Give me the directions.
Imagine you're decluttering your house.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting rid of things that no longer serve a purpose
Right.
to create space for the things that you truly value.
Yeah.
That's the essence of eliminate.
Okay.
What are you doing in your business that no longer adds value? What can you strip away?
Interesting. So it's not just about cutting costs, but it's about strategically eliminating what's not contributing to that leap in value. What's the next step on this roadmap?
Think about streamlining a recipe. You might have all sorts of ingredients,
Yeah.
but are they all essential?
Right.
Can you simplify and still create a delicious dish that's reduced? Are you overdoing it on features or processes that might not be crucial to the core value you offer?
I see. So it's about focusing on what truly matters. Now, you mentioned leap in value. How do we amplify that?
That's where raise comes in.
Okay.
This is your chance to turn up the volume on what you excel at.
Mm-hmm.
What can you take to a whole new level? What are your strengths? And how can you amplify them to truly outshine the competition?
Finding those unique strengths and turning them into superpowers. So far, we've decluttered, simplified, and amplified. What's the final step?
This is where the real magic happens. Create, think outside the box, push boundaries, and bring something entirely new to the table. This is about innovation, those unexpected wow moments that redefine what's possible in your industry.
Those 4 actions: eliminate, reduce, raise, and create, provide a really tangible framework. But I need a real-world example to bring this to life. What's a company that's mastered this blue ocean approach?
Let's look at Cirque du Soleil. They didn't just try to improve on the traditional circus.
Mm-hmm.
They reinvented it entirely. Imagine this a world where circuses are struggling, but Cirque du Soleil emerges blending the thrill of acrobatic feats with the artistry of theater.
So they're not just competing with other circuses, they're creating a whole new category of entertainment. That's a game changer. How did they use this framework to make that happen?
They eliminated the expensive animal acts,
Okay.
reduced the reliance on traditional clown acts,
Okay.
and raised the overall experience with a focus on sophisticated themes,
Right.
original music, and multiple productions running simultaneously. But most importantly, they created a brand new entertainment experience, a sophisticated blend of circus and theater drawing in adults and corporate clients who wouldn't have considered a traditional circus.
Wow. By eliminating those elements, they not only cut costs, but also created a more sophisticated atmosphere that appealed to a whole new audience. That's a perfect illustration of how those 4 actions work together to unlock a blue ocean.
And the result? Cirque du Soleil wasn't just surviving, they were thriving, commanding premium prices and captivating a global audience. This perfectly demonstrates that it's not about fighting harder in the existing market. It's about charting a new course to uncontested waters.
Okay, Cirque du Soleil is a fantastic example, but let's see how these principles work in a totally different industry. Have you ever heard of yellowtail wine?
Absolutely. Yellowtail is a great example of how a company can shake up an established market by understanding what customers truly value.
Yeah, yellowtail is everywhere these days. I'm curious, how did they manage to become so successful, especially in a market as competitive as wine?
They looked at what was turning off the average American consumer
Mm-hmm.
and realized that the wine industry had become too complicated and intimidating.
Yeah.
They saw an opportunity to simplify the experience and make wine fun and accessible.
So instead of trying to be the fanciest or most prestigious wine, they focused on making wine approachable for people who might have felt intimidated by the traditional wine world.
Mm.
It's like they democratized wine.
You got it.
Yeah.
They eliminated the complex jargon and overwhelming variety,
Okay.
reduced the selection to a few easy-to-understand options,
Okay.
raised the focus on a bold and approachable brand personality,
Mhm.
and created a whole new image of wine as a fun, everyday drink.
And the result, they didn't just capture market share, they expanded the market, drawing in people who weren't even considering wine before. That's brilliant.
Exactly. And this brings us to another crucial tool in the Blue Ocean Strategy Toolkit, the strategic canvas.
Okay.
Imagine a graph that visually maps out your company's strategy compared to the competition. It highlights the key factors your industry competes on and reveals where you're overlapping with everyone else.
Okay, I'm a visual person, so I love the idea of a visual map.
Yeah.
How does this strategic canvas help us find those blue oceans?
The strategic canvas helps you spot opportunities for differentiation and value innovation.
Mm-hmm.
It allows you to see where you can break away from the pack and create a unique offering. But what's really powerful is that it can also expose strategic contradictions.
Strategic contradictions. I'm not sure I follow. What exactly does that mean?
Think of it this way. Are you investing heavily in areas that don't actually matter to your target customers?
Oh,
Are you overspending on features that don't truly contribute to that leap in value? The strategic canvas helps you pinpoint those areas where your efforts might be misaligned with what your customers truly want.
so it's about making sure that your actions are in sync with your customers' needs and that you're not wasting resources on things that don't drive value. This is already making me rethink my own approach to strategy.
That's the beauty of Blue Ocean Strategy. It's not just a set of theories. It's a practical toolkit that can empower you to make smarter, more strategic decisions. And we're just getting started. There's so much more to explore as we continue our deep dive into the world of blue oceans. What's truly exciting is that Blue Ocean Strategy goes beyond theory, providing a clear roadmap for discovering those uncontested market spaces. It's not about blind luck or guesswork. It's about a systematic approach.
You're telling me there's a method to this blue ocean madness. I'm all ears. What's the secret sauce?
One key insight is to shift your focus from competitors to alternatives.
Okay.
Instead of obsessing over your rivals' every move, ask yourself, what are the alternatives that customers choose instead of our industry's offerings?
That's a fascinating perspective shift. So instead of trying to out-pizza the other pizza joints,
Right.
you'd ask, what are people craving when they're not in the mood for pizza?
Exactly. Maybe they're opting for a healthy home-cooked meal or exploring international cuisines like Thai takeout. By understanding those alternatives, you start to see the unmet needs and desires that your industry might be overlooking. It's like uncovering hidden treasure.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to strategy. It's like we're expanding the battlefield beyond the traditional boundaries.
That's the point. They call it reconstructing market boundaries.
Yeah.
It's about challenging those assumptions about what your industry is and who your customers are. And to guide you on this journey, they've outlined 6 paths for reconstructing those boundaries.
6 paths. Sounds like an epic adventure. Lay those paths on me.
The first path, which we just touched on, is looking across alternative industries. Cirque du Soleil did this brilliantly by looking beyond the circus to the world of theater.
Mm-hmm.
They recognized that people who weren't interested in traditional circuses might crave a more artistic and sophisticated form of live entertainment.
It's like they tapped into a hidden reservoir of demand that the traditional circus industry didn't even know existed. That's brilliant. What are the other paths?
The second path is to look across strategic groups within your industry. Think of it as different levels of offerings. Let's take the hotel industry as an example.
Okay.
You've got budget motels, mid-range hotels, and luxury resorts. Each group caters to a different customer with distinct expectations.
So a strategic group is like a subset within an industry, each with its own unique set of rules and competitive factors.
Precisely. By looking across those groups, you might discover a gap, a need that's not being fully met by any of the existing offerings.
Right.
That gap could be your blue ocean.
I'm starting to see the possibilities.
Ah.
Okay, what's next on our pathfinding adventure?
Path number 3 involves looking across buyer groups. Often companies focus solely on the end user,
Right.
but there are other stakeholders involved in the purchase decision. There are the purchasers, the influencers, and the users. Each group might have different needs and motivations.
That's a great point. For instance, if you're selling children's toys, You need to consider not only what the kids want, but also what the parents are looking for in terms of safety, educational value, and durability.
Exactly. And that leads us to path number 4, looking across complementary product and service offerings. Think about the things people do or buy in conjunction with your product or service.
Okay.
For example, if you're selling coffee, you might explore what else people are doing during their coffee break. Are they grabbing a pastry, reading a book, or catching up on work?
I see. So it's about expanding your vision beyond your immediate product or service and seeing it as part of a larger ecosystem of needs and behaviors. What are the final two paths?
Path number 5 invites us to look across the functional emotional orientation of an industry.
Okay.
Some industries compete primarily on functionality. Think of things like tools or appliances. Others compete more on emotion, appealing to aspirations, a sense of belonging, or a certain lifestyle. Think of fashion or luxury goods.
Ah, so it's about understanding the emotional drivers behind customer choices.
Hmm.
A high-tech gadget might appeal to our need for efficiency, while a stylish piece of clothing might appeal to our desire for self-expression.
Exactly. And by looking across that spectrum, you might uncover an opportunity to inject more emotion into a functional industry, or bring more practicality to an emotionally driven one.
That's a really interesting perspective. What's our final path?
The 6th and final path is all about looking across time.
Okay.
This involves analyzing trends and anticipating how they might shape customer needs in the future. It's about being ahead of the curve, spotting those emerging blue ocean opportunities before they even fully exist.
It's like having a crystal ball and seeing the future of your market. That sounds incredibly powerful. But with so many paths to explore, how do we make sure we're not getting lost in the weeds? It's easy to get overwhelmed by all the possibilities.
That's a valid concern. And that's where the next principle comes in, focusing on the big picture. It's easy to get bogged down in details and data.
Yeah.
But Blue Ocean strategy emphasizes the importance of keeping your eye on the prize.
So it's about vision over minutia, big picture thinking over spreadsheets.
Precisely. They actually offer a powerful alternative to the traditional strategic planning process, which they argue can sometimes stifle innovation. They call it the visual awakening.
Okay.
It's about stepping back and getting a clear picture of where your industry stands and where those potential blue oceans might lie.
I love visual tools. How does this visual awakening work in practice?
It's a 4-step process. First, you visualize the strategic canvas, which we discussed earlier. This helps you map out the competitive landscape and identify the key factors driving competition in your industry.
It's like creating a map of the battlefield, seeing where all the players are positioned and where the hot spots of competition lie. Got it. What's the next step?
The second step is to visualize the as-is strategy.
Okay.
This involves honestly assessing your company's current position on the canvas. Where do you stand in relation to the competition? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Are you overlapping with rivals, or are you carving out your own space?
So it's about taking a hard look in the mirror and seeing how you truly stack up. Honesty is key here. What's next?
The third step is where we shift our focus from internal operations to the actual experience of our customers.
Okay.
It's called visualizing the buyer utility map.
Okay, so we're putting ourselves in the shoes of our customers and seeing the world through their eyes. How do we do that effectively?
You need to ask yourself some key questions about the buyer's journey. First, identify all the stages a customer goes through, from the moment they first become aware of your offering to the point where they either repurchase, stop using it, or dispose of it.
So it's about mapping out the entire customer life cycle, from initial consideration all the way to the end of the relationship. What kind of questions should we be asking at each stage?
The most important question is, what's the biggest pain point for the customer at this stage? What are the hassles, frustrations, or unmet needs they experience? Are they struggling to find information, navigate a complex buying process, or figure out how to use your product effectively?
It's about identifying those moments of friction that might be turning customers away or preventing them from fully embracing our offering. Those are the areas ripe for innovation. What's the final step in this visual awakening?
The fourth and final step is to visualize the buyer experience cycle. This involves taking those pain points you've identified and exploring them in more depth.
Okay.
It's about understanding the root cause of each pain point and brainstorming potential solutions.
So it's like going beyond the symptoms and getting to the heart of the problem.
Exactly. And by doing so, you can start to generate those aha moments, those innovative ideas for creating an offering that eliminates or reduces those pain points while simultaneously raising or creating new elements of value.
This visual awakening process is incredibly insightful. It's like a guided tour through the minds of your customers, helping you see your business through their eyes. But how do we ensure that our blue ocean is vast enough to make a real impact? I don't want to create an amazing niche product that only appeals to a handful of people. I want to make a splash.
That's a fantastic ambition, and that's where the next principle comes in, reaching beyond existing demand. It's not enough to simply steal customers from your competitors. You want to create new demand altogether.
So how do we do that? How do we convince people who weren't even considering our industry's offerings to suddenly become loyal customers?
One key insight is to challenge the traditional approach to market segmentation. Instead of trying to target ever smaller niches with increasingly specialized products,
Right.
they advocate for a more expansive approach.
So it's about casting a wider net and appealing to a broader audience. That sounds counterintuitive, but I'm intrigued. Give me an
You
example.
remember Yellowtail wine? Instead of competing with other brands for the attention of existing wine connoisseurs, they looked at those non-customers who weren't drinking wine at all.
So they targeted those beer drinkers, cocktail enthusiasts, and folks who just didn't see wine as their cup of tea.
Exactly. They recognized a huge untapped market, people who found wine intimidating, complex, or simply not enjoyable. By creating a wine that was easy to drink, easy to choose, and bursting with personality, they essentially converted non-wine drinkers into wine enthusiasts.
It's like they expanded the entire pie instead of just fighting for a bigger slice.
This is making me rethink everything I thought I knew about marketing.
And to help you reach beyond those existing boundaries, Blue Ocean Strategy introduces the concept of non-customer tiers.
Okay, this sounds intriguing. Tell me more about these tiers.
They identify three tiers of non-customers. First, we have the soon-to-be non-customers.
Okay.
These are people on the edge of your market. They might be currently using your product or service, but they're dissatisfied and could easily switch to an alternative.
So they're like those gym members who are paying their monthly fees but aren't really engaged with the gym and are considering canceling their memberships? Exactly. Next, we have the refusing non-customers. These are individuals who consciously choose not to use your industry's offerings. Maybe they find the current options too expensive, inconvenient, or simply not aligned with their values.
Like those people who choose to bike or walk to work instead of owning a car, perhaps because they're committed to sustainability or simply prefer a more active lifestyle.
Exactly. And finally, we have the unexplored non-customers. These folks are in a distant market and haven't even considered your offerings. They might not be aware of your product or service, or might not seem relevant to their needs.
It's like tapping into a whole new continent of potential customers. This concept of non-customer tiers is really eye-opening. It's like you're saying that the biggest opportunities often lie outside your traditional customer base.
Exactly. By understanding these different tiers of non-customers, you can start thinking about how to craft an offering that appeals to them, expanding your market in ways you might not have imagined.
This is incredibly insightful. I'm starting to see my market in a whole new light. But let's be pragmatic. Even if we can create a blue ocean and generate massive demand, how do we ensure that our business model can actually support that growth and deliver sustainable profits?
That's a crucial question, and it brings us to the next principle, getting the strategic sequence, right? It's not enough to have a brilliant idea. You need to ensure that your business model can actually deliver on that promise.
So it's about making sure that our vision and our execution are in perfect harmony.
Precisely. Many companies get caught up in the excitement of innovation and overlook the practicalities of making it work. They might create a fantastic product, but then struggle to price it appropriately, manage their costs, and overcome hurdles to adoption.
It's like building a magnificent skyscraper on a flimsy foundation. It might look impressive, but it's not going to last. So what's the secret to getting that strategic sequence right?
Blue Ocean Strategy outlines a specific sequence you should follow when developing your strategy. The first step is to focus on buyer utility. Before you even think about pricing or costs, you need to ensure that your offering delivers exceptional utility to your target customers.
So it's about making sure that your product or service genuinely solves a problem or fulfills a need for your customers. It has to be something they truly value and are willing to pay for.
Exactly. It has to offer a compelling reason for people to choose it over the alternatives, including the option of doing nothing at all.
Okay, so buyer utility is the foundation. What comes next in this strategic sequence?
Once you've established that strong foundation of buyer utility, you can move on to price. And here, the key is to set a strategic price that's attractive to a large enough market to create substantial demand. You don't want to price yourself out of the market, but you also don't want to undervalue your offering.
It's about finding that sweet spot where you're maximizing revenue while still making your offering accessible to a wide audience. How do we find that perfect balance?
They introduced the concept of the price corridor of the mass. Instead of just
Hmm.
looking at the prices of competitors within your industry,
Mm.
you analyze the price points of products and services your target customers are already buying in alternative industries.
So if we're creating a new type of meal kit service, we wouldn't just look at the prices of other meal kits. We'd also consider the cost of dining out, ordering takeout, and even grocery shopping.
Exactly. By understanding that price corridor, you can position your offering strategically to capture a significant portion of that existing demand.
I love how this approach leverages existing market dynamics to fuel your blue ocean creation. It's brilliant. Okay, we've covered buyer utility and price. What's the next step in this strategic sequence?
Now we turn our attention to cost. This step is all about ensuring that you can produce and deliver your offering at a price that allows for a healthy profit margin. It's not about creating a luxury product and then trying to figure out how to make it affordable later on.
So it's about being cost conscious from the very beginning and designing your business model with profitability in mind.
Precisely. They advocate for a cost target approach, which means setting a clear cost goal early on and then designing your business model and operations around achieving that goal.
It's like working backward from your desired profit margin and figuring out how to make the numbers work without sacrificing quality or value. I like that approach. Okay, we've got buyer utility, strategic pricing, and cost targeting all in place. What's the final piece of this strategic puzzle?
The final step is adoption. This is where you focus on overcoming any hurdles to getting your offering embraced by the market.
So it's about addressing any potential resistance or skepticism from customers, partners, or other stakeholders. It's about building trust and confidence and making sure that everyone is on board with this new blue ocean vision.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that adoption isn't just about convincing customers. It's also about aligning your internal team, your partners, and your suppliers.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be on board and excited about this new direction.
This strategic sequence, buyer utility, price, cost, and adoption, is incredibly valuable. It's like a blueprint for success. But even with the best laid plans, I imagine there are still going to be challenges when it comes to actually executing our blue ocean strategy. How do we overcome those organizational hurdles and get everyone on board with such a radical shift?
That's a great question.
Oh.
And it leads us to the next principle, overcoming key organizational hurdles. It's not enough to simply have a brilliant strategy. You need to rally your team and navigate the inevitable resistance to change that can arise.
So it's about leadership communication and building that all-important buy-in.
Precisely. And they introduce a concept called tipping point leadership.
Okay.
It's about creating rapid and widespread change within an organization by focusing on 4 key levers.
Okay, I'm ready to pull those levers. Give me the breakdown.
The first lever addresses those cognitive hurdles. It's about overcoming the ingrained beliefs and assumptions that might be holding your organization back.
So it's about breaking free from those "we've always done it this way" mindsets that can stifle innovation.
Exactly. You need to help your team see the world through a new lens and understand the incredible potential of this blue ocean opportunity.
It's about painting a compelling vision of the future and getting everyone excited about the possibilities. What's the second lever?
The second lever focuses on resource hurdles.
Okay.
This is about ensuring you have the necessary resources, people, time, money, technology, to execute your blue ocean strategy.
Hmm.
And I understand that can seem daunting, especially if you're embarking on something entirely new and different.
Yes, resources are often limited, especially for smaller companies or startups. How do we overcome those resource constraints?
They argue that you don't necessarily need to have all the resources up front. You can be creative. Prioritize ruthlessly. Be strategic with your resources, and even consider leveraging partnerships or external resources to fill the gaps.
So it's about being resourceful and finding creative solutions to those resource challenges. What's the third lever?
The third lever tackles those motivational hurdles. This is about energizing your team and getting them truly committed to making this blue ocean strategy a reality.
This is where leadership really shines, isn't it? It's about inspiring your team, giving them a sense of purpose, and making them feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves.
Absolutely. And they argue that one of the best ways to motivate people is to involve them in the process. Don't simply dictate the strategy from the top down. Engage your team in the brainstorming, planning, and execution. Give them a voice.
It's about creating a sense of shared ownership and empowering your team to contribute their ideas and talents. Okay, we've covered cognitive hurdles, resource hurdles, and motivational hurdles. What's our final lever?
The fourth and final lever, addresses the political hurdles, those inevitable internal politics and resistance to change that can arise when you're shaking things up.
Ah, yes, office politics. They can be tricky to navigate.
Absolutely.
How do we overcome those obstacles?
The key is to build a strong coalition of support. Identify those key influencers and decision makers who are aligned with your vision
Hmm.
and enlist their help in championing the Blue Ocean strategy.
So it's about building alliances, finding common ground, and creating a united front for change.
Exactly. And they emphasize the importance of transparency and open communication throughout the process. Keep people informed, address concerns head-on, and be willing to adapt as needed.
This concept of tipping point leadership is incredibly valuable. It's like a masterclass in change management and leadership. But even with all these levers in place, how do we ensure that the execution of our Blue Ocean strategy is truly embedded in the culture of our organization? I don't want this to be a one-time initiative that quickly fades away. I want it to become part of our DNA.
That's a brilliant goal.
Oh,
And it leads us to our next principle, building execution into strategy. It's about ensuring that your Blue Ocean strategy isn't just a plan on paper, it's a living, breathing part of your organization's DNA.
so how do we make that happen? How do we create that lasting cultural shift?
They introduce a concept called fair process,
Okay,
which focuses on creating a sense of ownership and commitment among your team.
fair process. I like the sound of that. Tell me more.
Fair process is built on three key elements: engagement, explanation, and expectation clarity.
Okay, those sound like essential ingredients. Unpack those elements for me.
Engagement means involving your team in the strategic decisions that affect them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just impose decisions from the top down. Seek input, listen to feedback, and give people a genuine voice in the process.
It's about empowering your team and making them feel like they're part of something important. What about explanation?
Explanation is about clearly communicating the rationale behind those decisions once they've been made.
So it's not just about what we're doing, but why we're doing it. Transparency is key.
Exactly. People are far more likely to support decisions if they understand the thinking behind them. And finally, expectation clarity is about setting clear expectations for how the strategy will be implemented and what each person's role will be.
It's about eliminating any ambiguity or confusion and making sure everyone is on the same page, rowing in the same direction. I love this fair process concept. It's a recipe for building trust, transparency, and accountability, all essential ingredients for successful execution. But even with a strong team and a well-executed strategy, I imagine there will still be times when things don't go exactly as planned. What are some common pitfalls that companies should watch out for when they're trying to implement a Blue Ocean strategy?
That's a great question. And in this expanded edition of Blue Ocean Strategy, they've added a new chapter that addresses exactly that. They call them red ocean traps.
Red ocean traps. Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Tell me more about these traps. I want to make sure I can avoid them.
They've identified 10 common traps that can prevent companies from successfully creating and sustaining blue oceans.
10 traps. Wow, that's a lot to be aware of. Give me the rundown. What's the first trap we need to watch out for?
The first trap is seeing market-creating strategies as technology innovation. It's easy to get swept up in the excitement surrounding new technologies, but blue ocean creation is about more than just technological advancements.
So it's not just about having the coolest gadget or the most sophisticated software. It's about how you use that technology to create real value.
Exactly. It's about understanding how technology can be harnessed to create a leap in value for both buyers and the company. Technology is a tool, not the solution itself.
Okay, so technology is a means to an end, not the end itself. What's the second trap?
The second trap is equating market-creating strategies with differentiation.
Okay.
While differentiation can be an element of a blue ocean strategy, it's not the defining characteristic.
So it's not enough to simply be different for the sake of being different.
Precisely. It's about creating a new value proposition that makes the competition irrelevant. It's about creating a new game, not just playing the existing game better.
Okay, so we need to be clear about the distinction between differentiation and true value innovation. What's the third trap we need to avoid?
The third trap is searching for a niche in an existing market space. This approach is inherently limited because you're still operating within the constraints of a red ocean. You're just carving out a smaller slice of a shrinking pie.
So it's about breaking free from those existing boundaries and creating our own expansive market space where the pie is infinitely bigger.
What's the fourth trap?
The fourth trap is confusing a technological breakthrough with a market-creating strategic move. Just because you have a groundbreaking technology doesn't mean you automatically have a blue ocean.
So it's not enough to have the technology. You need to have the vision to translate that technology into a product or service that customers will actually want and value.
Exactly. Technology is just one piece of the puzzle.
Okay, what's trap number 5?
The fifth trap is incumbent companies focusing on incremental improvements. They argue that this approach can trap companies in a cycle of diminishing returns and make them vulnerable to disruptive innovations. So it's about being bold and willing to challenge the status quo, even if it means disrupting your own business model. Incremental improvements might keep you afloat in the short term, but they won't lead you to a blue ocean. What's the sixth trap?
The sixth trap is startups assuming that they are naturally blue ocean strategists.
Yeah.
They argue that while startups might be more agile and innovative, they still need to follow a structured process to create a successful blue ocean.
So it's not enough to just be scrappy and disruptive. You need to be strategic and disciplined in your approach. What's the seventh trap?
The seventh trap is equating creative destruction with market creation.
Okay.
While disruptive innovations can create new markets, they don't always lead to sustainable blue oceans. It's not just about tearing down the old, it's about building something new and lasting in its place.
So it's about more than just shaking things up. It's about creating something truly valuable that customers will embrace for the long haul. What's trap number 8?
The eighth trap is first mover advantage being the key to creating blue oceans.
Oh.
They argue that being first to market doesn't guarantee success, and that it's more important to be the company that creates the most compelling value proposition.
So it's not about being first, it's about being the best. Quality over speed. What's the ninth trap?
The ninth trap is assuming blue ocean strategy is about the technology industry. They argue that blue ocean creation is relevant across all industries, from consumer goods to healthcare to education.
So it's a universally applicable framework. That's really empowering. What's the final trap we need to watch out for?
The 10th and final trap is thinking that blue ocean strategy is for creating new businesses. They argue that blue ocean principles can also be applied to revitalize existing businesses and even transform entire industries.
Wow, these red ocean traps are incredibly insightful. They really highlight the importance of being aware of those common pitfalls and staying laser focused on the core principles of blue ocean strategy. I feel like we've been given a map and a compass for navigating those uncharted waters and avoiding those treacherous traps.
And that awareness is key. By understanding these traps, you significantly increase your chances of successfully charting a course to a blue ocean and creating something truly extraordinary.
It's like having a secret weapon,
Yeah.
you know, in our strategic arsenal.
It's about being aware of the common mistakes that can pull you back into that red ocean and staying focused on what truly matters, creating and capturing new value.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We've journeyed from the shores of the red ocean to the vast expanse of the blue,
It really has.
exploring everything from the core concept of blue ocean strategy to the power of value innovation. We've unpacked the 4 actions framework,
Right.
visualized our strategic landscape with the strategic canvas, and charted those 6 paths for reconstructing market boundaries.
It was quite a toolkit.
We've also talked about the importance of focusing on the big picture, reaching beyond existing demand, and getting that strategic sequence right. We've even explored how to overcome those organizational hurdles, embed execution into our strategy, align our value profit and people propositions, and navigate that crucial process of renewal.
And we can't forget
Hang
those
on,
red
wait.
ocean tracks.
Let's not forget those treacherous red ocean traps. We've learned how to spot them and steer clear.
Exactly.
I'm feeling so energized. I'm ready to dive into my own strategic canvas and start mapping out my blue ocean. But before we wrap up, what's that one big takeaway, the one core message you want our listeners to carry with them?
The most important thing to remember is this. You always have a choice. You can choose to fight in the red ocean, battling it out for scraps of market share,
Right.
struggling to stay afloat. Or you can choose to create your own blue ocean, a space where competition fades away and new possibilities emerge.
Okay.
It's a bolder path, but it's also a far more rewarding one.
That's such an empowering thought. It's about taking ownership of your destiny and shaping your own future. And what I love about Blue Ocean Strategy is that it's not just for big corporations or established companies. This is a framework that anyone can use.
Absolutely.
Whether you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, or simply someone with a big dream and a passion for making a difference, Blue Ocean Strategy can be your guide.
That's right.
So to our listeners out there, I have a challenge for you. What factors could you eliminate, reduce, raise, or create to make a splash in your own world? What hidden needs are waiting to be met? What blue ocean is calling your name?
Take those insights we've discussed today and start exploring. Experiment, play. Be bold. And most importantly, have fun with it. Who knows what incredible discoveries await you?
We've only just scratched the surface of this vast and fascinating topic. If you're ready to dive deeper, we highly recommend exploring the book Blue Ocean Strategy. It's a treasure trove of wisdom and inspiration.
Hmm?
And remember, the journey doesn't end here. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing those boundaries.
Right.
Until next time, happy sailing on those uncharted waters. We'll catch you on our next deep dive.